Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review covers the round 2 release of the TeeVee Dune Buggy. This is kit number AMT 907 in 1/25th scale. It's a skill level 2 kit for the moderate builder and requires paint and glue for assembly. It's been 40 years since round 2 has released the TeeVee initially, and the kit can be built in one of 3 ways: as a dune buggy, an open chassis, or a street buggy. There are about 120 parts molded in red, chrome, clear red, clear yellow, and vinyl tires with a metal axle and water slide decals. The VW motor is nicely chromed and detailed, and as a dune buggy it has a simplified chassis and floor pan. The body is just one piece, and some parts did not fit well, and part placement and gluing points were often vague in some areas. With multiple build options though, you get quite a few parts, plus there's actually extra parts in the kit that don't really belong to this kit at all. Take your time, because it can confuse a new model builder, but with some patience you can get her together and have a nifty little dune buggy for your shelf. Overall dimensions are length 6 inches, width 2.5 inches, and height 2 3/4 inches. Here are the decals for this kit. As you can see, they're very colorful and the registry is good. I strongly recommend using some decal setting solution to make it fit those contours, but as always, use the manufacturer's safety and use guidelines when using any of the products mentioned here in the review for your own protection. For most of the construction, I use Model Master liquid cement and sometimes a slow setting tube glue, but other adhesives are used too for strength, like super glue and white glue for clear parts. Mostly the paints are Tamiya acrylic bottle paints that are shot through an airbrush, or rattle can paints that can be used for things like primers. Here's my version of the open box review. You can see all the parts, and yes, they're in the box. Gather these parts to assemble the motor, and they're all chrome except for the distributor and the fuel pump. Paint the fuel pump aluminum and the distributor black. The belt is a rubber color, and remember, to help the glue adhere, you'll have to scrape the chrome from the attachment points on the parts. Assemble the block first and add the parts in sequence from the heads, carbs, fan, and belt, and all of the accessories put into place as you assemble the motor. The exhaust pipes are painted steel and installed in place on the motor, adding the muffler. I use some super glue here for strength. Moving on to the tires and rims. You're going to assemble them according to the version that you want. And if you use the dune buggy's tires, then you have to assemble them. They're made out of styrene, and paint them a rubber color. Now, after you get the tires ready, press and roll the treads of the tires on a sheet of fine sandpaper to give them a worn look. Install the rim fronts and the rears, and for the front tires, add the brake and the axle pin. Now get out these parts to start the chassis assembly. Assemble the floor pan with the center rail and paint that your body color. The front suspension is assembled in painted steel, and the shocks in your favorite color. I used red. The pedals are black, the shifter knob and the brake handle are black. Now mount the motor, add the rear suspension, shocks, and the metal axle, and then install the front suspension and shocks. Now, frankly, there's no positive mounting point for the front suspension. Just eye it up to where it looks like it should be, and then glue it into place. Add the pedals, the shifter, and the brake lever. Now you can install the front tires to the suspension, but there again is no positive mounting points, so use some super glue and just place them where it appears that they should be. Then install the rear tires, and this will give you a chassis to work with. Now we can start the body assembly. Install the interior surround and assemble the fuel cell. Then add the steering wheel. The battery is black and installed on the floorboard, and the roll bar is black and installed later on. Now wet sand the body and remove any of the parting lines, mold lines, or blemishes from injection points, etc., and fill any sinks that might have occurred. Now this body being molded in red is difficult to paint without bleed through, so you'll need to cover it with a good quality primer like this automotive primer to remedy any issues Now, once you've got that dry, look it over again and repair, and then sand it with some fine sandpaper and let it dry once again. Now paint the body in your favorite color. I used a Chrysler Sublime Green here. Paint both the inside and the outside and give it first some light coats and then some wet coats and give it a nice color depth. Now we can decal the body. Use plenty of warm water so that you can move the decals around and get them into place. And I strongly suggest you use some setting solution to help it conform to contours on the body and stick to the body well. There were no gauge or dash decals for this kit, so I just went to the internet, printed some out on plain paper, and then covered them up with some glossy cellophane tape and then glued them into place using some white glue. Install the body and glue it into place on the floor pan, and then add the roll bar into place in that. Now choose your style of windshield, either the clear or the tinted one, and I like to dip these into some Pledge floor care and let that wick off and dry. It gives it a thin, clean look, and it also helps keep the glass from getting hazed. So glue that into place in the windshield frame, then install the glass there, and then install the light lenses to the headlights and the windshield and wipers. Then add the gas cap, the headlights using some white glue, and add the grill and the push bar. Now I painted the seats black and installed them with the black steering wheel and put that all together. Now gather these parts for the final assembly section. I wanted to personalize my buggy, so I printed out a copy of my logo in the shape of a license plate and printed it out using an inkjet color printer. Then I covered it up with some glossy tape, cut it out, and I'll use that for my custom license plates. Assemble the roof and paint it flat black, then assemble the tail lights and install those, and then add the tag to the holder and install that on the back, and glue your up top into place. There will be a few extra pieces and some decals left over. In fact, it appears that there's some parts that are in this kit that maybe belong to different versions or maybe even other kits entirely. So you'll have some spares for your spares box. Well, there you have it. We can't sugarcoat it. This kit has been in the vault for 40 years, and maybe round 2 should have left it that way, but even so, if you want to put a little extra work into it, it is a fun looking kit and takes you down the memory lane to the days when dune buggies were all super new ideas and lots of fun. We hope you liked this premium quality step-by-step review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you can find us on Facebook and also at our website, www.rightonreplicas.com. Thanks!